with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is.
I was afraid,
Right.
I didn't know what to do. A lot of us be coming in it.
And what I'll say was amazing to me was
Season 2. Welcome back to the L3 Perspective. My name is Glenn Davis. As you know, I'm sitting here with my co-host, Cameron Macias.
Coach Cam.
L3 Perspective, as you know, we talk about life, love, leadership.
As we've talked about in the past, like, love, share, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Because at the end of the day, we do it for you guys.
What's going on, guys? Hey, welcome back to the L3 Perspective, where we talk about life, love, and leadership. We have a very special guest. We're very appreciative of you guys tuning in and the feedback that you provide us. But before I introduce today's guest, I'm going to toss it over to Cam.
Hey, as you guys already know, like, love, share, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Because at the end of the day, we do it for y'all. And if you don't tell us, we're just going to do whatever. And then you just stop watching, and no one likes that. Yeah.
So the weather's about to break.
Yes.
People about to bring out their
Thank
barbecue
God.
pits and smokers and all of that. And
April
so,
19th, by the way. I'm sure you're busy. But if you're not, I'm having a barbecue at my house.
Always appreciate it.
but ladies and gentlemen, I do want to welcome our special guest today, Chuck Matto, right? Conductor of Chuck's Flavor Train. Chuck is a self-taught barbecue pit master. He grew up in Napa, California, where his culinary journey began with the flair for fire and flavors and a personality to match. Chuck has showcased his skills on the cooking channels, Fire Masters, and battled his way to the finals on season 4 of Food Network's Barbecue Brawl. With over 3.5 million followers across social media, Chuck's innovative approach to barbecue ignites a passion for grilling in every dish he creates. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the L3 Perspective, Chuck.
Bang, bang.
All aboard. You feel the ground shaking and you smell bacon. It means I'm getting close.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So I saw Chuck when Veterans Day.
Okay.
It was funny. You were at you were at Dave and Buster's.
Yeah.
I was with my family, and I said, hey, that's the guy I followed. And I bang bang, and he's like, Flavor Gang.
Yeah.
Gave him a little pound, and I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna get Chuck on the podcast. She's like, well, go ask him now. And I said, the dude's trying to chill. Like, and I would feel like a lot of times people don't understand that. I was like, I know he's got an IG, I know he's got an email. I'll hit him, and if I don't get a hit back, I'm gonna follow up.
I appreciate either way.
And then we go and do it. But no, man, we really appreciate you coming on because as we told you, like, we really want to highlight, especially those in this local community, because Solano County has a lot of things going for it. It has a lot of potential, and I feel like the more we highlight those in the community who are building, the better.
I appreciate that, and I agree. And as far as you saying what's up to me, I just got to say, man, you gave me props and made me look cool in front of my homie. Like that. So he's like, bro, like, you know that dude? I'm like, nah, man, we just met. He's like, that happen all the time? I'm like, nah, bro, like, I don't know. Like, either way, like, it just happened. You saw it, right? So, no, I do appreciate it.
That's dope.
And I'm happy to be here, like you said. And, yeah, I think there's a lot of talent out here, and it needs to be highlighted. And that's one of the things, whether it's, locally here or wherever you're at in your city. I would say tap in with the people close to you and try to build a network there.
Yeah. So you grew up in Napa originally.
Yes, sir.
So, like, tell us kind of about your childhood, kind of growing up in Napa, and then, give us the synopsis.
Yeah,
right?
man. Growing up in Napa, for those that aren't familiar, the wine capital, basically, of, America, potentially the world, some would say for sure. Particularly, the whole valley. But growing up in Napa, it was me, basically my sister. There wasn't a lot of, black folks out there, know, but I always like to say, like, my life was like the blind side before the blind side. I was adopted by, 2 angels, my mom, rest in peace, and my father.
Yeah.
I'm Gary and Regina. Thank you for everything. Everything happening today would not have happened without that. Being adopted, growing up where I did, I had a wonderful life, close-knit family community. Every night, basically my mom was cooking dinner at the family dinner table, which is kind of where the food journey started. I want to be around people. I want to be with food. I want to be laughing and talking and having fun, But that was my life growing up there, and I didn't even realize until looking back, like, I always liked food. It was like, in 4th grade, I convinced my mom to get me a turbo cooker off this infomercial, and I was cooking food for the kids in the neighborhood. And, it's like, I remember, like, even in high school playing football, it's like, me and the boys, it's like, we were into football and lifting weights and video games. It's like none of us had dates. It's like we're gonna get together and make steaks and pasta before homecoming, and then we'll go to the dance solo with the dude. You know, it's like like things
You're
like
living my dream.
you know, right? You know, so it's like we did. You know, so it's just funny. But yeah, growing up in Napa was awesome, and it's one of those things. I look back at it now, and it's we talk about networking connections, and it's growing up there. It's whether it's friends of mine stayed locally and now we're in the food or wine or hospitality, whatever it is. It's just a really cool place to grow up, in that there's a lot of young hustlers and entrepreneurs out there taking advantage of growing up in such a beautiful place. So it really shaped me, my food flair, my food passion, the things I like. I think I don't just do barbecue, I mix it in with everything. And as you know, Napa and the Bay has now gotten to be such a diverse place that you can really tap into that. So wouldn't have wanted to grow up anywhere else, you know.
That's dope.
There's a lot of people who have households, but they, don't have dinner together, right? They don't have those experiences that you share, and even more often now because of how busy the world is. And so, like when you were a kid, like what was that experience like for you?
I mean, it was the best. I mean, honestly, I think about it now, and it's if I could go back and do all the family dinners again, I would. Particularly now with my mom being gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those things in the neighborhood. We'd be playing sports, and I grew up on a cul-de-sac. A nice little court. And again, picture perfect neighborhood. Couldn't ask for better, man. But yeah, so it'd be one of those things. We're playing football, and it's 5:45, and it's like, oh, I'd see my dad's car coming up the block, and it's like, guys, I'm out. I'm running home. It's like, Chuck's like not even saying bye. It's like, dude, dinner's about to be ready in 20 minutes.
Right.
Like, we're gonna hang out. Like, it's And so it was just one of those things that you go in the door and the smell. It's an immediate, it's that emotional connection to the memory and that moment. Combined with sitting at the table and laughing and what did you do today, and then as you get older and start talking trash and telling jokes and having fun, it's just. But it's one of those things, and even now, like if I'm home with my family, I'm cooking dinner, and if I'm not cooking dinner, we're eating together out as a family. But it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm gonna eat later, and we feed our kid, early and put it. It's like, no, we eat dinner together as a family every night.
That's dope. So like, you were gifted the smoker in 2016, but there's obviously a lot of history before that. So like, after high school, like what was your journey like?
Oh man! So after high school,
we asked those bangers.
Yeah, right. No. I'll try to give the. I mean, it's funny because out of all the times I think I've talked, I don't know if I've really shared, but I'll try to keep it short. But after high school, thought I was going to play football. Going to Santa Rosa JC after grades and things didn't work out.
What
I had
position did you play?
aspirations, D tackle.
Okay.
Had aspirations to go into University of Oregon. Didn't work out.
Oh, the Ducks.
Yeah, of course.
The
Yeah.
Duckers.
It didn't work out. Went to the Santa Rosa JC. Got hurt. As soon as I got hurt, it's like, oh, this is what it's like to have
life.
freedom and party, exactly, and everything that comes with that. And so basically, I got kicked out of Santa Rosa JC for grades. Got kicked out of Napa JC for grades. Went back to Santa Rosa. Was put on probation. Then I went back to Napa. Finally got it together. Went to Sonoma State. Studied psychology.
Okay.
Graduated with a degree in psychology. Wanted to work with and help kids, and I did that for 4.5 years essentially. Got burnt out, and you see older staff that are there that don't care. And at that point, I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to be one of those older staff members. Went into the family business doing insurance.
Okay. What kind of insurance?
Everything. Home, auto, commercial, everything. Life. We did it all.
All right.
Allstate. Went into the business doing that, and I just felt like I was dying, bro. It's like, I talk about food, and I would say like my heart beats faster. I get excited. I talk fast. It's like I talk about insurance, and it's like, it's like nobody's
I'm
happy.
sorry, we can't
Nobody's
accept
ever
that.
happy. Nobody, even whatever. So long story short, the whole time throughout this process, I'm always cooking. Even when I lived in an apartment with my now wife, girlfriend at the time, I'm cooking dinner every night. Long story short, as you mentioned, 2016 comes along, and the time from graduating high school, partying, getting kicked out of college, that was 2005 to 2011. 2011 to 2015 was working with kids. 2015 to 2020 basically was insurance. But in 2016, as you mentioned, I got the smoker. And once I got that smoker, it was like you become the weekend warrior. It's like, oh, this is what I live for, It's like, okay, all day, it's like insurance. Then you get home, it's like, light that baby up, crack a beer, and it's on. And that's really when everything changed. But throughout the whole time, as I mentioned, I was cooking. I just didn't realize how much I loved it, or let alone what the future held for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it's funny, man. Like you have so much in that 10-year span. But it was cool to kind of circle back to the thing that you're actually passionate about. And I think oftentimes we forget that. We forget to do the thing that it is that we're actually called to do. Right.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize, like I said, people talk about, my personality or, how loud I am or the bravado or whatever. And I'm like, I felt like I found that through food, and it's like, I always tell people, like, it doesn't have to be food. Whatever you love, like, you will find yourself in that. But if you feel yourself being called to something or drawn to something, go to it. Like, don't run from that. And that's the one thing I've realized. It's like, the more I delve into this food world and the more I take chances. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy the things that have happened, so.
Yeah. So, I'd like to ask you a question about like when you were working with the kids.
Yeah.
So like something I've noticed personally is that there's a lot of people who do the great work of like working in kids and adopting and doing all these other things, but a lot of times financially it can be very hard to gain like the right people to do those things. And I don't know why. I think it's like teachers the same thing, right? It's like we want great teachers, but at the same time we don't take care of them the way that they should be taken care of.
100%.
And so like in that environment, did you feel as though like that was a challenge you saw potentially like there?
Honestly, at the time, and it's funny because my wife and she actually worked there as well.
Oh, okay.
We went to college together, didn't really talk there. I recognized her and things like that, but we actually met at the job afterwards.
Hey, shouty.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Watching.
Yeah. But, so yeah, no, it's funny. We were laughing. It's like, man, do you remember like you graduate from college and this is, 2011. It's like you get a job there at this group home and it's like, we were proud. It's like, oh, we make $13 an hour.
Yeah.
Like $13 an hour to live at a facility for 3.5 days with teenage boys that, really don't want to be there.
For
you
sure.
know what I'm saying? It's like, and you're the parent, you're the cook, you're the doctor, you're all that. So, but we were like, oh yeah, I got a full-time job. I'm making, $24,000 a year. But it's like, you thought, it's like, so no, I was never concerned about money. It was more the time and effort and the way it just grinds on you. You know, it's like certain staff become bad staff and they're grumpy, they're angry, or they're not. It's like, and you have days like that or moments where it's like, or you're stressed on your off time, worried about all that stuff,
and
just takes a toll. Exactly. So I'm just like, I'm not trying to be that dude or be that person that's here. And it's like, oh, he was, one of my favorite staff, and now he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to avoid that pattern. Yeah. I can feel it, and she's like, I'm done. Like, I'm out.
Yeah. And I mentor a kid currently who he was in juvenile hall for 3.5 years, and he just got out. And and that's kind of one of the things is like I noticed is when I was going there, some were nice, some were not, and I'm just like I don't get it. But at the same time, I also don't do it full time. And I think like in any job, we run into those things, right? It's like some people are like super loving it, and then other people don't, and you're like, I wonder what happened there.
Totally. And it's like, I remember studying psychology, and one of my teachers said, like, all of you are going to leave here and think like, oh, I'm Superman. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to help. And like, I'm going to help everybody. And she's like, some of you are going to realize why you can't. Some of you are going to get burnt out over time. And some of you are going to keep on fighting that fight. And, you're going to, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's what I felt like, it's like you go out there so idealistic. And I'm not saying that I don't still help people or anything like that.
Sure.
I just couldn't do it in that capacity anymore. Right. For the sake of not just me, but, the people I'm working with. Like, I didn't want to give the kids, like, I knew what it was like when I was, at 100% and even being at 90% and the kids still loving me and stuff. Like, I knew what it's like, where I was at mentally, and it just wasn't for me anymore,
For sure.
This is very, obviously, the word that popped in my head was that's very mature of you, because, like, I feel like we, in our society, we're so self-centered and so selfish when it comes to having to make a decision of like I know I have something deeper to give, right? And I'm not fulfilling that purpose. I'm not giving that in this capacity. Yes, I'm serving. Yes, I'm helping. But like for you to kind of like recognize that, to transition to be able to serve even on a grander scale, speaks volume of your character. And that's the reason why I bring that up is because that's something that Cam and I often talk about as far as like the character of a man, or the character of a person, but specifically the character of a man, especially when you're leading a family. Right. Because,
and I think it's like one of those things too. Like I always tell people, there's a lot of ways to help. It's one of my buddies and I, we have these talks, and we kind of have different perspectives that come from different. But it's cool. Like we're really good friends, on things. And but we have those talks, and we always end up bridging the gap and seeing eye to eye.
Yeah.
But one of the things to talk about is like, oh, well, like people will say this, but you don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. And that's one of the things I talk about. Like, I always tell people, like, you buy coffee every day, right? Most people buy coffee every day if you drink coffee. I don't, but if you do drink coffee, you probably buy it every day. You're probably spending at least $6 a day on coffee. If you drink one, if you're drinking three, you're spending close to $20.
Right.
Bro.
Like, how many times do you scroll Instagram and you see someone like, hey, my kid's school's got a readathon, donate $10. How hard is that to do? $10, you know what I'm saying? Skip your coffee for a day. If you're that financially strapped, skip your coffee for a day, you know what I'm saying? But you've helped someone in that capacity.
Yeah.
You leave a restaurant and you have a burger that you took one bite of and didn't eat, and you see someone asking for food. Do you really need that meal, Pat? There's so many little things you can do to help. And all those little things that you do will add up, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, so that's kind of the way I view it now. Or even like, charity, donations, fundraisers, crab feeds, sponsorships. As, an entrepreneur, business owner, if I can, donate something to a cause that's going to benefit somebody, do it. And I think those are things that are often overlooked, and in your local town, women's shelters, veterans shelters, children's homes, all that stuff. Call them up. Hey, Thanksgiving's around the corner, or whatever holiday's coming up. I'm going to be cooking turkeys. How many people are there? I'll happily drop off plates, dinner, silverware for y'all, whatever you can do.
For sure. Yeah. So a lot of adversity you went through, especially after like those high school years, right? Like mental toughness wise, what are some things you feel helped you, but also like what was your mindset in those times? Like, I told you, earlier, like I almost got kicked out the military a few times, right? I know what my mental state was at that time, right? But like having the courage and also just the mental toughness to be like, I got to keep pushing. So especially for you to like go to one school, to go to another school, go back to that school, still graduate and like push past that. Like, what were some things you felt helped you do that?
Oh man, I want to be clear too. It's like, did I go through some quote unquote adversity or whatever? Yeah, but there's so many people who had it worse than
for
me.
sure.
It's like most of my adversity was of my own doing. You know what I'm
We're
saying?
in America.
Exactly.
It's like, so much worse.
Yeah, and it's like really my adversity was like I wanted to party and I was trying to hang out with girls and smoke weed and get drunk. Like I was a square and an athlete for years, and then it's like, oh, freedom, like this is life, and I'm out of my house, and it's like and I became a man, basically. So a lot of it, like I said, was just me choosing to be, an idiot, for lack of a better word, or a young man, however you want to say it. I will say, as far as adversity later and things, I was always my own worst enemy, whether it's anxiety or OCD, things like that, exactly, things like that. And I go through phases where it's like, I can't come out of this, and I went through a dark time, again, of my own doing, but it led to, me being depressed and things like that. And I will say coming out of that really let me know, like, I can do anything. From feeling like, like I can't do this anymore. Like, and I'm not talking about like, I want to end my life, but just like telling my wife, like, I'm not happy. Like, this is not me. And feeling like that for so long, and then getting out and having better days and better days. And then you string better days together. I've realized now that like I can do anything. And that's why I tell people, like, it's possible. Like, just keep going. Even if you got to fake it till you make it, just keep going. And that's one of the things I realized, like, is it going to be perfect? No, it isn't that the ride, It's like, enjoy it. Enjoy the lows and then bounce back and ride out those highs, baby. That's the circle of life, So.
Shout out to your wife too.
I was just about to say, definitely shout out to your wife. And speaking of your wife, and even you, one of the last words you mentioned were circles. And so, and talking about like adversity and mindset, when you went through that journey, I know you mentioned earlier that your wife at that time was your girlfriend, now wife. How important was the role that she played in that journey? And also, if she wasn't in that picture, do you feel that you would be the man you are today?
I mean, so my wife definitely is my biggest supporter, my best friend, my anchor, my journey. I would say she's my world and my rock. And yeah, so as far as we were together, and the dark time actually happened after we had first got married, essentially.
Okay.
But yeah, without her, I most likely would have spiraled out. That's like the fear I have. And I still fear that now. I'm like, babe, like without, like, like I don't know what I would do without her, or my daughter. It's like, they're kind of like my anchors. They're the reason that I stay positive. They're the reason, it's like, I feel like all of us men and most people in general have that kind of demon in the back of their minds, so they're the reason why it's like, oh, it's late night, and people are, hey, let's go do. I'm going home, bro. I want to go to bed. They just keep me. It's like, it was cool. Yeah, they just keep me grounded. It was cool. Yesterday, 2 days ago, we had dinner with my dad, and he sent me a message yesterday morning just telling me how proud he was of me.
That's cool.
As a father and a man, and it was cool. We don't really talk like that.
Yeah.
So to get that message was really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's dope.
That's really dope. Cam and I both kind of grew up without like father figures, in a sense. And I remember a couple episodes we kind of tapped on it a little bit, and like whenever I seen my dad in the past, it was almost like you would have thought the outside view would have like, oh, he's like very present in Glenn's life when he really wasn't. And like I have the love for him as if he was, but I remember the beginning part of my military career, actually a large part of it, I didn't know one of the things that I was missing was the validation from my dad, right? Just
100%.
the words of, I'm proud of you, son. You know what I mean? Like, I know I screwed up, but just I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? So I definitely, like when you started to talk about your pops, like I was just like, being a father now, really us expressing our love to our kids and, not just validating them, but really expressing,
letting them know,
letting them know, what I mean?
Like I feel blessed to, my dad in my life being adopted, and having him there every day. But he's an older man, again, he's Italian, just a different generation, and so even though, and I always knew he was proud of me. Like I always knew that. I always knew he was there. He didn't miss events, even though he worked his ass off. He never missed anything. He would take me to everything, but just to like get that message, it was like, it was just like it shook my world. Like, I'm doing something right. It was cool. So.
And that's something that Glenn and I talk about is we hear so much about mentors and people we look up to, and it's like him and I have talked about as far as having people that we consider mentors of being a father. I had even though I grew up with a single mother, I always tell people like, don't give me the woe is me. Like I grew up with love in my house. Like my mom freaking was my rider. She's still to this day one of my best friends. And I had some great men in my life because of my mom. But we talk about how like who do we look up to as like a father? And I think I would say at this point, I look up to G as a mentor, as a father. Like he's the only person I really talk to about being a father. I don't even talk. I have my dad, my stepdad, and like he doesn't really talk about stuff either. And we talk sometimes, but in general, like he's the person I talk to about it because I look up to the way that he thinks. Right, like I'll hit him up and just say, hey man, like I'm feeling like I might have not handled this well. And like, I don't need you to validate me. I need some real talk.
Exactly.
Like, if you don't agree with it, bro, just like tell me like where maybe my blinders are. And I'm proud to say that we have that now. But we always talk like I'm happy for you. That's hella dope.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just to echo what you said about making it known as well. I agree with that. Like I tell my daughter like I'm proud of you, right? Like you got it. Like I'm proud of you. Like I'm being your father, the person you are. Like I'm proud of you. Like know that. Like And when you do something good, like yesterday, even she had batting practice, and in the middle, like kids get tense and stuff. And like I don't know where, like she put the bat down, and, like wiggled her hips, like took a deep breath, then went back and crushed it. And like I told her, I'm like, you did that on your own. You didn't have to be like you're learning. It's like so I'm proud of you just for that little thing. So
just for having like that mental capacity.
No,
and then speaking to your point of mentors and coaches, I talk about that a lot. It's like growing up, I had. Even going back to Little League and baseball or playing football, it's like all my football coaches taught me so much about life and are men that, even if, I don't want to be like him 100%, but 50% of him and 20% of this.
For sure.
There's so many little things that people have taught you. And then even now you're talking about, essentially peers that you look at as like father figures. Like I have a lot of friends like that. I tell them like, I'm not into, motivational speakers and things like that because I can look around at dudes that really have been like, I don't need it when I can look at like you guys, you know what I'm saying? Like you're here, you're proof, It's like, what do I need a motivational speaker for? So, but yeah, all my close friends, you can find that inspiration and motivation in them, and those exemplary qualities. I would say like I'm blessed to surround myself like. Yeah, sure, they're good pit masters, but like I don't hang out with everybody. Like they're good fathers, they're good friends. That's what attracts me to them as people.
100%.
Yeah, and the lessons that come along with that.
Exactly.
It's I think it's just men, and this is kind of one of the things I often talk about as far as being here in Solano County is I've decided to raise my family here because you had mentioned the potential here in Solano County. That's one. And the other part of it is because there is, like, I feel like with that potential and being part of the solution to add more value, the point I want to just make is that I feel like as men in our community, we have to step up, right? We have to step up because there's not only do we have our own family that we're raising, but there's so many of the youth that doesn't have that example, right? They can't turn left to turn right and get that guidance and mentorship. And so, through men like, you setting that example in the circle that you're creating to set more of that standard, we just got to keep showing up.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a funny thing that'll happen. I don't know if you've experienced this, but if I'm out with my daughter hanging out or riding her bike or we're walking or something, I can pass a couple or a man, woman, don't matter. But people are like, good job being out here, Dad. Like, and it's like, I always appreciate getting recognized, but at the same time, it's like,
why is that?
This should
thing?
be
like,
the norm.
That exactly, like, so and I'm sure that's happened to all kinds of people all the time, but I'm like, why is it that dads with their kids get singled out, like, and it's again, like, that should be the norm. Like, to me, it's like, it's not a question, like, that's all I want to do, and that time with them as kids where they're going to want to do that is finite. Like, I understand there's probably going to be a time, especially in the teenage years, where it's like, Dad, drop me off around the corner. Don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me.
Exactly. It's like, but right now, I'm our best friends. So, like, why not soak that up for that moment?
For sure.
Like, that's just crazy,
Yeah. And it can be like, so I have 5 kids in my house, ages 8 to 12.
Yeah, as a man.
Yeah. And so, and so it can get a little crazy, and I always tell people, like, I run a tight ship. Like, people are just like, how do you do it? I'm like, there's standards, but like I talk to my wife a lot is, it can be hard because, like, I don't want to be your friend because that's not my job. But at the same time, I don't ever want you to think I'm doing anything I do not out of love, especially when, like, they're just being shitheads that day, and like, so the other day I caught, they did something, they got in trouble, and then, like, afterwards I said, hey, you guys know, like, I just love you. Like, I know I may not be your favorite person when you're in trouble, and I said, but understand everything I do is to teach you how to survive in this world. And it comes from a place of loving you so much, I just want to see you win. And they were just like, we know. And I was like, okay, as long as you guys know, because some days I don't know if you do.
I had that conversation last night. We're at dinner, and she's hyped up, and she was tired, and she's 6, and she had a long day, and baseball and sports and math class, all kinds of stuff, whatever. But she's just a little hyped up, and we're just like, hey, like, dinner, like, get it together. What's going on? Like, and she was all upset, and again, she's tired, so she was over dramatic and just like, oh, you don't love me no more. I'm like, hey, like, if I didn't care about you, I would let you act a fool. I'd let you run around. Like, you see these other people out here, like, but I love you. I want you to know, like, you got to act a certain way. Like, people are here to have fun and enjoy themselves and relax. They don't want you disrupting their night out.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so,
that's cool.
And she got it, but it was one of those things, like, if I didn't care, I wouldn't say nothing.
Exactly. No, that's how it be. So, smoking, man.
Yeah.
Pitmaster.
I'm excited. I love barbecue. That's my jam. And so you were gifted the smoker. Was it your brother-in-law?
My brother.
Your brother.
My brother.
Your older
Joe.
brother.
Yeah, my older brother. Joe.
2016. First off, what kind of smoker was it, and what was the first thing you cooked?
Weber Smoky Mountain. I smoked up a rack of lamb over applewood.
Oh my
and I
God.
had way too much wood and way too much smoke on there. I didn't let, like, the charcoal burn off properly, so I definitely had dirty smoke on there. And again, looking back though, I'm like, even now, like, in my mind, it was bomb.
It was bomb.
Like, it was like, and it probably was pretty damn good. Like, again, the lamb doesn't smoke that long. It was a rack of lamb, so it's not like it took on too much dirty smoke.
For sure.
But it was probably a little heavier than I would smoke it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome. The color was like the main thing. Like, I'd never, like, again, you sear steaks or you sear meat and you get that gray band. And again, I've learned how to avoid that now, even searing. But, for most people, you sear or cook something at high heat and you get that band. But I've never cut into something. It's just like edge to edge, like juicy pink. Like, it was like in the flavor, the texture was just like, and then ever since then it was on, Yeah. But I'll never forget. Yeah. Rack of lamb, applewood, Weber Smoky Mountain.
Okay. And so like, obviously that was the beginning of, you just started posting, like, pictures? Like how did they grow,
so
man?
I had Instagram at the time, but I think I had only posted like a couple pictures, maybe one of me and again my now wife and my girlfriend at the
like
time.
that's how it was for like a lot of influencers. It's like I didn't really post much until I just started posting about this one thing.
Exactly. It's like, so it was a picture of that and then a picture of me at my birthday hanging out like the roof of a limo or something. And then, but yeah, so I'd posted like the rack of lamb and not even thinking about it. Just like, oh, made a rack of lamb, like got a smoker, like blah, blah, here's my first cook or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and it's so funny. And like, I tell people enjoy the process. Cause I remember like, oh my God, like 6 people like this picture.
Yeah.
Like 6 people give a damn. And then like, oh my God, 13 people cared. 30 people. And it's like, and to me, it's still funny. I'll bring it up. Like Big John's barbecue. Like, dude, East Coaster, posts mostly sandwiches, did barbecue and things like that, and still does. But like, to me, like he was and like still is like a celebrity. Like he don't even post like I post no more. Like he don't, but it's like him and like Maple Leaf Smokehouse and Grilling with like a bunch of just OGs that were posting started kind of following me and things like that and just giving advice. Yeah, it wasn't even like, oh, I want to get famous. It's like, oh, I can do this better. Cool, I'm gonna try it again. Or so and so made it with this recipe. I'm gonna try it like that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, as I was falling more and more in love with barbecue, a family friend, hey, do you cater? Fake it till you make it, right? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I cater 100%. It's like, oh, we saw a couple of pictures.
You got silver plates? Yeah, I got those.
So it's like I had done a private dinner for my family. Like they had some friends over, but it was Chipino, which is another thing I cook a lot, seafood stew.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
But cooking that with my wife, I'm like, ooh, like I kind of want to do this.
Yeah.
Didn't really think about it, but I remember telling her, like, babe, like I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like 4 months went by. I did this graduation party for my niece's friend, like 60 people. And looking back, good Lord, was it an awful spread.
Oh, yeah?
Luckily, they enjoyed it, and they've had several meals since, so it's okay. But, like, looking back, it's nothing, but you're starting whatever.
Yeah.
But once I did that gig, I was like, oh, okay, that's a perfect way, like, to promote the catering is social media.
Yeah.
So I would keep posting, like, oh, I cater, oh, I want to practice this, And a couple years go by, pandemic hits. And that's when it's like I have all this video footage. I'm going to start adding the voiceovers to the videos.
Yeah.
And that's when it all kind of happened. Nice. So, but it was all natural. Like, it was like, oh, I'm having fun doing this, finding a new community. Oh, I like cooking for people. Oh, I can promote my cooking for people through social media. Oh, I have video footage and it's the pandemic and I'm bored.
Yeah.
Here we are.
The value add.
Yep. So so the pandemic, you would say, is like really when things blew up.
Yeah, and I think not just my business, but you've seen a lot of businesses, particularly in the podcast world and in the entrepreneurial space, that blew up during the pandemic. People were at home. People had extra money. Not saying that they should have been spending that, government money on, but people were spending,
For sure.
Again, it was like every night in Vallejo sounded like a party with the fireworks going off. I'm not even kidding. It was, it's like every day with 4th of July. But yeah, people had extra money, extra time, and were looking for ways to pass that time, and spend that money. And so for me, being in Napa and in this area, as we talked about, hey, we were going to go do a dinner up Valley in Yountville, but the restaurant's closed right now. Do you cater?
Yeah.
Oh, I do cater. I do private dinners. Where are you staying? Oh, we got air. Perfect. I'll be there. Things like that. So that was really a boost to the business, combined with the fact that people were at home watching videos and I was talking, trash.
Exactly.
And that gift or whatever, it's like people liked it. And that really combined with the catering led to this kind of crescendo. And knock on wood, it's still been going, I'm blessed. So.
That's pretty cool.
I love talking to people who have a passion for something. I thrive off of that. And like just to hear you talk about, from the advice that you've been given, you redoing your social media and putting out information. So clearly you have a passion for barbecue. What does that mean to you on a soul level?
It's funny because I've been trying to actually conceptualize that lately for a project I'm working on, how. But I think the biggest thing to me is on a soul level, barbecue is life. And what I mean by that is it literally nourishes your soul, but it's also the fun, it's the memories, it's the experiences. Whether you're a kid and you go out back and your dad or mom or whoever cooks, your grandpa, whoever in your house cooks, but the grill. What's that smell? And then it's even if it wasn't good, if they're burning ribs on a gas grill, you still, my dad cooked ribs on a gas grill, charred the hell out of them, slathered them in sauce. That's still to me, I don't care what I make, they're not as good as his ribs.
Right.
Those are and it's ribs. But if he was to serve those to the barbecue community, these aren't even really barbecue.
They were
these are grilled. These are but to me, that was the best. So it's whether it's that memory or your first time going to a ball game or your first time traveling traveling to a different state or something, you know, or the first time you're hammered late night and you see a spot that's selling barbecue and it's like, oh my God, dude, that barbecue brisket saved, that sandwich saved my life.
Right.
Dude, that mac and cheese at 1 a.m. with the brisket saved, like, you know, it's like, but I just think there's something about, you know, in the camaraderie, you're up early cooking with your friends and you're telling stories, or you're up late night and, you know, whether you're competing and you're out there and it's like, we've been putting our heart and soul in this to get that call and take the walk, or you're cooking and it's your kid's birthday and there's 30 kids over there that are picky and they all only want mac and cheese and they come up and tell you that was the best food I've ever had. It's like, that's the best shit ever. You can't, you know, it's like, you can't replicate that or replace that. So it's just, to me, it's life, you know, it's everything that comes with it. You know, the ups, the downs. You're going to put your heart and soul into a cook and it's going to come out like shit sometimes. You're going to try really hard in life and it might not go your way. But if you keep trying, you can accomplish. You know what I'm saying?
And it's like perspective, right? So like, so my wife, when we got together, I remember I was like, she was married before, I was married before, and I was like, where's your girl at? She said, what are you talking about? And I was like, hold up.
Might have to check this whole situation out.
You were married and you don't have a girl? And she was like, I don't know. And so I was like, oh, your life's about
work out.
Your life's, that's why that shit ain't work out. Your life's about to change, boo-boo. And so now it's really cool because like my kids love when I say like, oh, I'm making steaks tonight. Like, oh, I'm making a tri-tip. Like, oh, Dad's barbecuing. Like, or, you know, I'll pop out the Blackstone and cook up the, you know, the taco meat from the local taqueria.
Or the smash burgers or something.
That's my next thing. The smash. I know.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, get on that. You'll never go out for a burger again, I'm telling you.
I keep telling my wife. And so like, but like you talked about, there's a times where like, you don't do it right, but no one knows any better. So I cooked a brisket and didn't have the what's it called, the fat part.
Oh yeah, the fat cap.
The fat cap.
Yeah.
I bought one without the fat cap because for some reason the commissary was selling a non. And so my buddy who I was telling you about, who you normally does the briskets for the party, he's like, oh, you didn't get the fat cap one. I was like, oh, well, I mean, this is happening. And so, you know, but we did it. Like, my wife didn't know any better. She said, hey, this is like really good. Like, kids smashed it.
Of course.
You know, and it was just like, I love that, like you said, like, I can bring that. Like, I love watching my kids be like, Dad, can you cut some, like, more steak? Because, like, I still want more. And I'm like, yes.
And you talk about that, like, you know, we don't know better, or we do know better, but nobody else does. And it's one of those things, like, even my wife, she does, like, you know, event planning. And it's like, one thing she helped me realize, like, I planned this cook-off one time, and a couple things didn't go how I wanted them to, and I'm freaking out. Like,
of course.
You know, and she's like, babe, everyone that's here does not know that those two things were even going to happen, that how it's, like, they're having a blast. And she's like, whether it's, you know, barbecue, you don't tell everybody, hey, it's supposed to be like this. You put it out, let them enjoy. If you have an event and it doesn't go right, you don't say, actually, 2 other people were supposed to show up.
Oh, by the way,
exactly,
this was actually
just let it
worse
rock.
than it
We'll
was
have a
supposed
blast.
to be.
So it's like, sometimes the pressure we put on ourselves, you know, let that go, things will be fine, you know.
Gotcha. Now that's good. Y'all making me hungry right now.
I'm not.
Yeah, me too. It's getting close.
So I was last night. I watched a video on his IG, and speaking of macaroni and cheese, he had this dish where you know, he's put the slab of ribs on the grill, and then, you know, made macaroni and cheese, laid it over the mac and cheese, threw it back on the grill.
Yeah.
I was like, that was when I went
Wait,
fatiguing
what?
last night, and I said, babe, look at this. I said, I don't know what he charged, but we got to hire him for something. But yeah, it was good. It was
so
good
the Mac
stuff.
rack right there. Yeah. So,
So,
that was
so talk about that, like even that process.
creative process. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I'm doing this series right now. I've been doing it for probably 5-6 months now. 1 Million Ways to Baby Back.
Okay.
So basically, just like you can do anything with ribs.
That's why there's so much ribs.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's like I post once a week, basically a new kind of creative rib recipe. It started off like basic, like here's a basic way to do it. Here's kind of the unique way. Here's how to do it in an apartment. Here's like something a little more out of the box. And then from there, it was like we're going to travel the world a little bit. So like Russian ribs, like borscht. Asian ribs, Filipino, German, Polish, like just trying to show that not everything is barbecue. And then lately it's been like, let's just get wild. If it's protein, we're putting ribs in that baby, you know? So I did like a rib corn dog, rib mac and cheese, chicken fried ribs.
A rib corn dog?
Yeah, and that one went super viral, very lucky and thankful, which was cool. But that one, like, it was easy. It made sense. And after I posted it and made it, I did some research and like, oh, it's out there. Like, it's been done before, which is cool. But I'm very proud of the fact that I wasn't inspired before I did.
yeah.
You know, it was like, but it's one of those things. I'll just be sitting around like, oh, I have this. I've got this. How can I do it? Like 2 ingredients together. Like the chicken fried one, that made sense. It's like you do chicken fried steak,
Yeah.
you do chicken fried chicken. Like,
Yeah.
why not a rib? You know,
Yeah.
it's easy, it's delicious. And then, like, instead of barbecue sauce, the gravy. Absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
you got your country gravy, and it worked so well. So, trying to do things like that, just have fun with the process. The next one coming out, people should like. It's kind of a take on like an Indian street food classic.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see how it does. But yeah, I'm just trying to have fun with it, you know, and I'm trying to still mix it in those crazy ones, and then coming up, I have some other basic ones as well. But again, like if you want to get wild, get wild. If you are a first-time rib maker or a first-time pit master and want to make ribs, I got that recipe for you too. You know, but
So when are you dropping the Indian style one?
that'll drop tomorrow, actually.
Okay, so you can name it if you want, because this won't drop for at least a couple weeks. So now maybe people will
gotcha.
come and watch it.
Okay, what is it? Arrayas? It's basically like a stuffed pita that's basically brushed. It's like a burger / taco / pita. But you take a pita, cut it in half, stuff it. Traditionally, it's done
Yes.
with like very finely minced, you know, meat.
Yeah.
Tomato, onion, parsley,
Yeah.
a bunch of spices. I smoked the ribs, basically overcooked them, popped the bones out, super tender. Minced it up real nice, and I kind of got my street food on with that, you know. And then I mixed it all together, stuffed it in there, brushed it with oil, put it back on the smoke until it's crispy, and served it with like a garlic sauce. So
That's
we'll see how it does, you know. And I'm sure that I'll get hate from, you know, the traditionalists.
I mean, whatever.
But that's part of the
That's the
process.
part of
Like
it.
exactly, like you know, this is not, you know, I'm not saying I'm Gordon Ramsay replicating it. This is me, a backyard guy that's drunk having fun in my yard.
Yeah.
You know? If you want to make this cool, if not, look at one of the other 100 recipes I
Yeah.
posted. You know?
I can see why he was one of the finalists on the on the TV show.
And
So
speaking of Gordon Ramsay, he duetted one of your videos.
He's
Well,
duetted
a few now.
He's duetted 2 of them.
How's that?
actually,
How
which-
was that?
It was really cool. The coolest thing about it, one, I grew up watching Gordon Ramsay. I think most
Yeah,
of us
we
did.
all did, yeah.
But like one of my people love my racks of lamb. I do a lot of lamb. They love my rack of lamb. Like I kind of followed his recipe as far as Frenching it.
Okay.
And just to cook, you know. But some people would say, "Oh, you take a lot of fat off the bone." I'm like, dude, that's what Gordon Ramsay does. Like, I literally, I've watched his videos, and if you still look at his lamb breakdown video that'll pop up, it's very similar to what he does. Just the technique. I'm not saying I cook it half as good, but just the technique as far as preparation. But that was really cool just to get the acknowledgement from him because I watched him every day with my dad. The other cool thing is that when it happened, TikTok was kind of blowing up in its prime.
Yeah.
And I was out at a brewery with some friends, and as I was there, like people were like, "Dude, like, did you see this?" Like, other people were coming up to me, and I hadn't even seen it. I was chilling there drinking, pretty
Yeah.
lit at that point. You know? So I was like, and
what?
So that's exactly. Look, I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh my god, like this is happening for real. I was like, but it was
all
cool. But it
around
was just
on
cool.
Chuck.
Yeah, but it was just cool because people were like, dude, did you see this? I'm like, no, it just happened. Like, I had no idea. So that was cool. And yeah, it's also cool. Again, it's just validation. Like,
Yeah.
this whole home cooking, you know, being an, you know, a backyard chef or a pit master, whatever, anytime you can get validation from a titan of any industry,
course.
if you were, you know, a painter and, you know, if Bob Ross was doing it, was like, dude, I like your artwork, you're like, oh my God. Or if, you know, I mean, whoever it is, you know, but just to get the recognition from Gordon was like, that's awesome. And they were both positive reviews, which he's normally dunking on people.
Oh, he's super
And
hard.
for me, he's like, bro, save me some. Like, save me some, big boy, you know.
yeah,
You know, I slapped the meat. He's like, my God, what network are you on? You know, like, I want to be on your side, baby. You know, it's like,
that's cool. Yeah, so from self-taught to TV competitor, what leadership lesson did you learn on betting on yourself?
oh, man. I think the best thing is, I would say, just take chances. The whole TV show, like, say yes to things. The whole TV show, I had said no to a couple other shows before. I just didn't feel ready.
Okay.
I started off the year of the show, 2023. I'm going to say yes to everything that comes my way. So
Okay.
I reached out. It happened to work out.
Yeah.
Turned out they were filming in Half Moon Bay, which is
Oh, so even not that far.
Bruh,
Bruh.
they were filming in Texas,
Which is
before.
not normal.
Exactly, and I'm like, I'm not going to go to Texas during the pandemic and be locked down for
Right.
2 weeks before, and then
Yeah.
you know where it was like, oh, okay, well, this is here, and at that point, the COVID restrictions had relaxed a little bit, or pandemic restrictions had relaxed. So it's like I didn't have to do any of that. I could drive to set. I was one of 2 competitors that had a car there. So
Oh, cool.
just saying yes to that, it worked out, and then getting further and further. And since then, I'm like, Chuck, we want you here. Yes. Chuck,
Yeah.
we want you here. Yes. And just by going to places, networking, I tell people, it's like, you got to show up, man. Like,
Yeah.
There's a lot of social media chefs, and I'll tell them, like, how do I do this? just do it, bro. Start cooking, start posting. If there's a barbecue event in your area, just go.
Yeah.
Just show up and go. So
Yeah.
the main thing, bet on yourself, show up and take chances.
That's awesome you said that. So we met with a young lady yesterday who's like trying to build her event planning business here, and she's also a member, and so she's like, oh, like, how do I do it? And I kind of said that same thing. I said, you got to get out.
Yep.
I said almost all the main opportunities we've gotten was because we went out in the community and just met people, and we're passionate about what we do. There's a standard of how we operate, and we're just there.
Yeah.
We're out, and then people eventually say, hey, you know what? I heard you say this. Would you be interested in that?
Exactly.
And I was like, social media is great and all, but like so much more will happen person to person.
Yeah.
People
Exactly. And I think the key I would say is like syncing those together. You
Yeah.
know, like, hey, like, go out to somewhere, even if like an event planner, go to a winery, hang out, do a wine tasting with some friends.
Yeah.
And while you're there, just let your, sommelier know. Oh, just so you know, I'm in the area doing events. Here's a business
Yep.
card.
Right.
Is it guaranteed that they're going to call you to work there? No, but they may have people coming in to taste. We're actually here. We're scouting places, and for a wedding, we need a wine or a planner.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually just met an event planner yesterday. Here's
Boom.
a card.
Yeah.
There's just so many little things you can do
Yeah.
to network, and then you can use your social media to have pictures of your setups
Yep.
and your layouts, so they can see
Exactly.
what you do. So.
Chuck giving y'all the game. Hopefully y'all taking notes.
Yeah, and then hosting free events, like whether it's barbecue event planning, host a free event. Like, hey, we're gonna have a cookout. Like,
Yep.
me, like I'm gonna host a barbecue this day. Come through, eat some food. Even if nobody there hires you that day, they're gonna remember you in a week. Even
100%.
if one of those 30 people calls you and loves your stuff, that's business that you got.
Yeah.
If you're cooking or you're doing events or you're whatever your hustle is, if you're doing it anyway, get people involved. It's
Yeah.
free response, it's free advertising, it's free
Yeah.
marketing, it's all that. So.
For sure. There's definitely like a level of like strategic like collaboration.
Yeah.
Like I don't watch sports. I don't watch football. I know you're a Niners gang or diehard Niners gang. But like we collaborated and partnered with Stevie Johnson, so former Bills player.
Out
So
here in Fairfield.
there you go. And so we started doing like live shows during the playoffs, and they're like, well, what's the price look like? And I said, honestly, we'll do it for free. Like, let's just collaborate. Like, let's just build it and see what happens. We'll get some people from the community. Maybe we can highlight some local businesses, So like Sharky's ended up being a sponsor, which was super dope.
That's dope. Okay.
Yeah, so we got some people who were like, hey, like, we got a cigar, all that stuff.
I gotta go to Sharky's now.
Yeah. But that, yes, turned into us going to the Super Bowl with immediate pass.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Like walking in like, whoop, whoop, and it was because we were like, hey, this is something that could do something.
Yeah, and you believed in it.
And we believed in it, and it's grown into other things. Super Bowl is coming out here next year. So that's something we're building out too, is like, how can we put Solano County on the map? How can we bring all these collective people together and highlight those people and the communities out here? So
Yeah, that's
dope. Congratulations.
yeah,
appreciate it. Yeah, it kind of goes back, like as you were talking about that, I was thinking about like from an outside view of what it seems to be. You have a high standard of excellence, right? And so Cam talks about just the standards and sometimes just saying that, yes, when you keep your standard, when you are your standard, right, and that standard is high, more opportunities get attracted to you, and it's that's pretty cool.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I never really thought about it as like I have a high standard. I think the fact that, for lack of a better way of saying, like I am my own brand. The name is Chuck's Flavor Train. My main logo is my face.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
So it's like I think it's more like I don't want to look stupid. If I'm going somewhere, I want them to be happy with me. If I was. Again, when you're what I feel like a little corporate clone working for a big, insurance company, it's like, oh, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
Like they don't notice me. I don't matter.
Yeah.
But like I am my business. So I've got to show up. And when I show up, I got to give them my all.
Yeah.
It's like,
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we wrap up, Glenn has a question. This is the only scripted question that we have on our entire podcast.
Yeah.
And so
it's scripted for y'all. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but before we ask that, so for the people who are trying to grow on social media, us included, right? One of the things that I battle with is like perfectionism when it comes to like the editing and the posting and stuff. I don't really care about the likes and stuff. It's more like, well, I want this video to flow. Like, what are some, things that you have learned that have helped you kind of grow your audience that you would advise people on?
the best thing I could say, and it sounds so cliche, is just be yourself.
For sure.
Be yourself. Be unique. Don't
Yep.
be afraid. Even I've gotten caught up. Like I was just telling my wife the other day, I'm like, I need to just like stop worrying about everything. I used to just post videos of myself like just drinking a beer, talking trash, or like in the backyard, like just hanging out, doing stuff.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, it would just be like a steak, like, ooh, this steak looks like crap, but whatever, like steak night, but you know, like,
Yeah.
where now it's all like clean, polished videos. And I was just even telling her, like, even I get caught up in that cycle. And I realized, like, you don't got to be perfect. Like, the reason I feel like, especially when things took off when they did, it's like I wasn't speaking the way everyone else was. I had
sure.
my own perspective and viewpoint. And I always tell people, like, lean into yourself as hard as you can. You know,
100%.
the one thing about good pro wrestlers, like, you know, The Rock and, you know, Stone Cold,
Yeah.
say, like, I'm myself, I just turn it up a little bit.
For sure.
And that's what, like, that's how I feel about me. Like, I'm myself at all times. I just got to turn it up a little bit, but I'm never faking. And that's, you can do this all the time. Yeah, because I'm always me. Like, you know, I'm not being something I'm not. So lean into whatever it is that makes you, you. And don't be afraid of the flaws. I think the flaws are what people are attracted
100%.
to.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny when you said there was a comment I think you made a couple weeks ago. We were having a conversation about like faking it until you make it, and the disagreement with that.
I hate that
And I
phrase.
think that people, I was thinking about that just randomly last night, but you said something that sparked that thought. And what it is I think that there's a difference between faking it until you make it and already becoming the person that you want to be. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. Anyway, I will say this before I ask you this last question. I needed this conversation, right? Because what I get is that it was all based around passion. And the reason why I say that is because, like, I woke up this morning, or actually the last couple of days, I was like, man, like I feel like I'm almost on E, right? And this is the conversation that I needed.
You're welcome.
Right? Yeah. Thanks for introducing me to Chuck.
No, thank you too, because I feel like sometimes I don't even realize some of, like, again, I get so caught up in just doing. You know, I always say, like, you know,
Right.
you got to put me in between some bumpers and guide me, but I'm just going. You know,
For
It's
sure.
like- so when
Yeah.
I look back and think about it, it's like, oh damn, like I guess I'm doing all right. you know?
Yeah.
For sure.
No, I definitely appreciate the conversation. Appreciate your presence. With that. Oh, go ahead.
So I was going to say before your question too, I just heard that fake it before you make, or fake it till you make it. And I had said that earlier, and I heard you say you hate that. And I kind of used to have a negative connotation of that too.
Yeah.
But that's something that I say now, and I guess the way I try to spin it positive.
Yeah.
And this is just for those that, like, if you don't like the saying, it's all good. But for me, it's one of those things. Like, for example, I want to be a pit master.
Yeah.
Nobody likes my food. I don't have the skills to do that. That's why I'm like, you got to fake that. If you don't think that, fake the confidence until you realize that people actually do like it.
For sure.
That's what I mean. Like, you know,
Yeah.
if when I was down and depressed, like, man, I don't want to smile today. I don't want to go to bed. You got to do it.
For sure.
Fake it.
Yeah.
Push yourself. And then you're going to realize, well, I did it yesterday. So that's the motivation you
Right.
need. That's what I'm saying. So it's almost like, even if you don't believe, fake that belief. You know what I'm saying? Like, and eventually you'll see, oh shit, it's there.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually in me. You know?
Yeah.
So-
And that's I'm glad you said that, because that's I don't disagree with that at all. I'm cool with that fake because we all got to put the face on some days. Like I get, and we all, and like confidence wise, all that. I dislike the phrase when it's used to like, oh, I'm gonna like do these fake things.
100%.
You know, and
Yeah.
and then you get comfortable being not
Exactly.
you at all.
Yeah.
So your example, 100% agree. The other example, the one I don't like, is like when people are just like, oh, I'm gonna do all this fake stuff because you
I
know
agree.
one day I'm gonna make it, and it's like,
I agree. And that was why I wanted to clarify. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that.
No, that's good. I'm glad that we closed out on that one. So my question that I have for you is there's 3 words: life, love, leadership. Choose one of those words if you could just share whatever's on your heart.
Oh my God, about to get deep right here. Life, love, and leadership.
That's what
Oh,
the L3
man.
is for.
I guess I'll go with love. And I think I'll go with love because I think that life and leadership falls within that category. I guess in the simplest form, like, life is about love, you know, do what you love, spend your time with the people you love, you know?
Yeah.
Try to lead in the best example that you can, you know, even if that's, you know, 0.5% better every day. Nobody's perfect, but I believe that if you do what you believe with love in your heart,
Yeah.
that's the best way to operate. And that's something I've always said, you know, it's like, I don't care where you align politically. I don't care what sports team you like. I don't care what your food philosophy is. But if you express your viewpoints with love,
Yeah.
that's That's the key.
Yeah.
You're out there, spreading hate or being negative. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Nothing positive is going to come with that.
Yeah.
I think if you're not leading with love,
For sure.
what are you doing? So I think love is the most important thing in the world, Again, it's funny. I always talk about food is love. Across my back, it says music is love. I got a big tattoo. It's like, same thing, though. It's like, there's just, the world is a beautiful place, and I think people often get caught up in the negativity. But I think if you keep love in your heart, love for people, love for what you do,
Yeah.
the world will be a better place.
For sure.
Yeah.
Short and simple.
Appreciate you sharing that. Man.
So, where can people find you? Although I think it's easy, but
Everything is Chuck's Flavor Train. So Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Chuck's Flavor Train, chucksflavortrain.com, Chuck's Flavor Train at Gmail, Chuck's Flavor Train at chucksflavortrain.com. But yeah, everything is Chuck's Flavor Train. Stay tuned. Got some things in the works. Hopefully more TV to come soon.
Yeah.
Eventually you'll see me on a bookshelf one day, but decide where the journey will take me.
like a cookbook.
Potentially.
Okay.
Oh man,
Let's
jam.
go. Pit
Okay.
Masters. So I want to share this quote as we close out. And it's funny because the timing of it with you choosing love makes perfect sense. So I woke up this morning and I'm a quote person, right? And so one of the things I wrote down was this quote, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna walk through my day with this. And so it is: passion is the fire that turns skill into art. And when you lead with love for what you do, others can't help but feel the heat. And I say that all because of, or I want to highlight that all because of what you said in choosing the word love. And so with that being said, Cam, I appreciate you connecting us, man. And Chuck, I look forward to seeing what's next for you and supporting you and finding a way to collaborate.
Yeah, no, we
on
got to get a
something.
barbecue
So
set up over here.
everyone says it, but we execute.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Cookout coming soon, right here. Yeah.
Baller.
But yeah, you wanna close us out?
That's like the best quote G's had on the show.
It was a great quote.
That
And it ties in. I actually did a post today, and I don't do a lot of kind of looking back posts, but I posted my first catering post ever, the one I talked about. Just did a slideshow, some of the memories, and was just talking about the journey. And a couple of the comments were like, bro, the passion's contagious. And just basically what you would just said, which I'm like, man, it's kind of crazy, that quote. Literally in my comments, people were saying similar things. So
That's
it's meant
dope.
to be.
there
Yes,
you go,
sir.
meant to be.
Yes, sir.
So as you guys already know, like, love, share, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We do it for y'all. We appreciate you being here. Don't forget to follow Chuck. His food's delicious. It looks amazing. But that being said, you guys have a good rest of your day, and we'll see y'all later.
Thank you very much.
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is
I was afraid, I didn't know what to do. A lot of us be coming in it.
And what I'll say was amazing to me was
Season 2. Welcome back to the L3 Perspective. My name is Glenn Davis. As you know, I'm sitting here with my co-host, Cameron Macias.
Coach Cam.
L3 Perspective, as you know, we talk about life, love, leadership.
As we've talked about in the past, like, love, share, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Because at the end of the day, we do it for you guys.